Hey there, this is the Small Fish, Big Podcast, a show for the gallus few who dream and do. If you're a small biz owner, a creative freelancer, or someone dreaming about leaving your 9 to 5, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll chat with an inspiring guest who will share their entrepreneurship story before we delve into a discussion about running a creative business. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, I am your host, Rhiannon Louden, pro photographer, proud entrepreneur, and champion of small Scottish businesses. Thank you for joining us for episode 17 of the Small Fish Big Podcast. If this is the first time you are listening in, thanks so much for stopping by. This is the podcast for the gallus few who dream and do. It's all about sharing inspiring stories and lots of tips, ideas, and advice about starting and running a small business. Today I am joined by Jen and Jennifer from Kreuzberg Chocolates. I hope I'm saying that right. They are relatively new small business owners doing a startup in Glasgow. And they are chocolatiers. So hello, Jen and Jennifer. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I'm going to start out by asking you to tell us a little bit about your business and the last 9 months or so, how you've gotten everything set up to where you are now.
Maybe one thing we should have said at the beginning was it's Kreuzberg Chocolates.
Oh, I was so wrong.
So Kreuzberg is a district in Berlin, which is where Jen is originally from, our chocolatier. And Kreuzberg is a really kind of quirky, artsy district. So we wanted to kind of incorporate that into the name of the business. Because it's kind of nods to the kind of childhood and nostalgic aspect of what we're doing. And yeah, so we make filled chocolates using natural ingredients and bean to bar chocolate made by small to medium batch makers who trade directly with cocoa farmers. And we'll be launching our website in November.
Brilliant. So, Jen, can you tell us a little bit more about the chocolate specifics, the kind of different products you make and how you decided to make those types of things?
We started out by researching what kind of chocolate we wanted to use, because there's, well, as everyone who loves chocolate knows, there's like plenty of them. And we basically stumbled upon a huge learning curve in terms of how chocolate is made, how many people are involved till you get the final product, and we basically, to kind of match or align with our values, we wanted to use chocolate where people are paid for the love and effort that goes into the product. So that starts with the farmers that harvest and grow the cacao, to the craft chocolate makers that, you know, make beautiful chocolates that you can buy themselves, but also as couverture. And we tasted a variety of different craft chocolate makers, and we got to learn about the different flavors a single bean from one farm has in comparison to single beans from another farm. Whereas usually if you pick up any commercially available chocolate, you usually get a blended varieties of beans, so you can't really distinguish the flavors of that particular farm. And that was the most amazing experience, I think, in that research, because we kind of initially had the idea that we use white, dark, or milk chocolate and then fill them with flavors that were, like, I don't know, nostalgic to our childhood memories, or classic flavors like salted caramel or something. But once we got into the whole craft chocolate tasting and found out how amazing like one single bean can taste and what flavor notes that evokes in you, like whether it be nutty, earthy, acidic, it kind of changed the whole idea of wanting to kind of showcase that chocolate rather than showcase our fillings. So it then became about matching our fillings to highlight the chocolate we're using, and that is encased, that the filling is encased in, and also obviously partially used for the filling. So I think that was an eye-opener, and I think we saw like chocolate for the first time in a proper way. And then one of our main values is that we want to use obviously ethically sourced products, but also as local as possible. So we looked into craft makers. Initially we thought we might have to choose, like, hopefully there'll be some UK-based ones, but there's like plenty of them, and 2 amazing ones we found in Scotland. So one is Bare Bones, which probably is quite popular and a lot of people might know in Glasgow, and one is just escaped the name. Chocolate Tree. It's near Edinburgh, and they do amazing chocolate as well. So these are 2 suppliers we're using, and then another one because we want to offer a vegan or plant-based range. One of our connections, we found a supplier in Dorset, who's also very small, and they do all their chocolates are vegan, and that includes various milk chocolates and also white chocolates, and they're all very delicious. They're called Solkiki, and then we chose one that is from Switzerland, and it's called Original Beans. And what attracted us most to them, apart from obviously the flavor of the beans, is the stories behind those. So one of the flavors or beans we've chosen is called Femme de Veranga, which is as a women-led farm, and the story behind it is just amazing, which links up to what part of our business is all about telling stories. So that's why we're using some of their chocolates.
Well, I think what was so interesting, I spoke to Jen and Jennifer a little bit before we started recording the podcast today. This is the first time I have been able to record a podcast episode in person, so I'm very excited. And Jen and Jennifer are my new favourite guests because they brought chocolate with them to our interview, which is amazing. So I wish you could see it. I'll need to take some pictures before you guys go, but they have brought 8 different types of chocolate here, plus a lovely little box of their very own chocolates as well, which is so neat. And I didn't know that there were so many different types of chocolate. I think the vegan chocolate's super interesting. I have a bit of a dairy intolerance, not an allergy, so I have to limit how much I can have. So that's really interesting to me because it's something I've never tried before. But in speaking with you, hearing how you were able to source so many things locally and to very carefully choose sources that fit in with your brand values, I think that's great. And I was also quite surprised to find that there were so many options for this within Scotland. I don't think of Scotland as a chocolatey sort of a place, and I imagine many others would be the same. So can you tell us a little bit about how you sought out and how you found these places and how you found these suppliers for your products?
So we had heard of Bare Bones. I think we maybe saw them in a local coffee shop or something.
Yeah,
because quite a few coffee shops now stock their bars. And we ordered some to try just for personal interest's sake, because we love chocolate, and loved them. There was one in particular, a Madagascar origin, 70%. And the flavour was just so kind of fruity and almost kind of like red berry and lemon flavours, which was amazing. We were a bit kind of nervous actually about kind of first approaching them to ask the question about whether they would provide couverture, but we went for it after a bit of kind of humming and hawing about that. And they were really lovely. So Lara and Cam are behind Bare Bones, and they were so lovely when we asked the question about whether they would supply us with their chocolate. And from there on, we picked some up, and Jen did some testing, and
That was amazing.
It was incredible, yeah. And then from there, I think it gave us a bit more confidence really to reach out to other suppliers like Chocolate Tree near Edinburgh. Again, Ali, who is behind Chocolate Tree with his wife Frederica. He was lovely when we asked that little question. All their stuff's actually on the website, all their couverture. You can buy beans from them as well, which is great. We aren't quite there yet at that point. We're focusing on making filled chocolates for now, but that avenue is always there maybe for the future. And, you know, again from there, Solkiki actually approached us because I think they saw what we were doing on Instagram. Actually, kind of, we were quite we wanted to put that message out there about what we had discovered about craft chocolate and all these amazing makers. And Iris from Solkiki got in touch to say that, you know, they do couverture, would we like some samples? It's all vegan. At that point we wanted to do a vegan collection, so we were all over that, you know, and we couldn't believe how, you know, as you were saying, white chocolate and milk chocolate without dairy just tasted so creamy and so, you would just never.
And one example to showcase how good it is, one of their dairy-free milk chocolate won an award in the milk chocolate category, so where all the other chocolates were dairy chocolates. They won loads of awards, but we not only sampled the tasters that they sent us, but we also ordered a variety of their chocolates because they just sound amazing. And they tasted, there was not one that we didn't like, and it's very inspirational when you taste other people's chocolates. So it's not just like a medium to make our products, but it's just their stories and their flavors is inspiring what we want to do and how we want to fill the chocolates. And the, like, Solkiki reaching out to us is an example of how approachable and how friendly, like, all these craft chocolate makers or other people that we approached are, because we didn't know where to start looking for suppliers. And it was through social media and Instagram that we asked certain people that we followed. It actually initially started off with someone that we followed, Map Chocolate in the US, just asking, you know, as a UK-based startup, where would you suggest anyone from your experience, you know, to approach? And I think that's where Chocolate Tree was suggested. That was the most known one, and it kind of started off from there.
That's brilliant. So to give you a little bit of background, I know this because I've had a chance to delve into their company a little bit. Jennifer takes care of the sort of social media and marketing and that sort of side of the business. And Jen is the chocolatier. Now, I know, Jen, that you have a little bit of a baking background, which is great, and enables you to sort of really personalise what you're making. But I'm curious to know how you learnt the chocolatier side of things.
I'm mainly self-taught, so I've always had a love of chocolate, as in, like, eating it. And I'm originally from Germany. There's slight differences in obviously the chocolates between the countries, and most of my baking or cooking is hugely influenced by nostalgia and recreating flavors from my childhood mainly. So it's kind of started off from there, trying to get into it and replicate it. Obviously I baked with chocolate a lot, but I always wanted to try it, and like Polly Young made it very accessible to learn it at home. So it took me a long time, like a few years, to trial and error, but like to replicate some of the flavors at home, and like sometimes when I would go back to Berlin, I bought some ingredients and then use that in the chocolates. So yeah, that's the main inspiration behind it. And with now finding the craft chocolate and what a difference that makes, it's almost like taking those childhood memories and even those initial starts and flavor combinations to a new level with this new chocolate, because it adds so much to it and it kind of balances each other out. So it's so interesting when we taste it, some of the combinations or flavors that we used to make a couple of years ago, but now make with this chocolate is just so different in a really nice way. And that's not to say that other chocolate is not good or anything, but it's just you can taste the difference. And I think over the last 9 months we had the experience of tasting so many different chocolates that our flavor palettes have like evolved with it, and you never stop like learning new things. So it was just really amazing.
That's incredible, and I know that it's very important to the two of you to incorporate yourselves into your work. And I know, you know, with your marketing and things like that, you're so great at sharing your stories and how your own personal experiences and who you are is the basis of